far fewer civilians lose their lives in an effort to go after senior leadership in al-Qaeda along the lines that we are discussing here, as opposed to an effort to invade a country with hundreds of thousands of troops and take cities and towns.
John Brennan comes up for confirmation hearings tomorrow in the Senate to be CIA director. How tough do you expect that to be?
I think it'll be tough, but I don't think he's going to have a hard time in defending the drone program. I really don't understand this sort of hysteria over the idea of killing Americans who have taken up arms against the United States. Thousands of Americans, Southerners, died in Antietam without any due process. When we stormed the beaches of Normandy on D-Day and Americans approached a German bunker, I don't think anybody asked, is there a German American here? I want to read you the Miranda rights. If you take up arms against the United States under the sainted Lincoln, you were a target because it was an act of war, and you forfeited those rights. Now, the question is, it's a different war. These people are in a guerrilla war or a terrorist war. We don't have the same lines. They aren't representing a country, and we need guidelines. I think the critique of this administration is in the guidelines that you indicated. They were probably written by somebody in the lower quintile of his law school class. They want to pretend that you can only hit an American al-Qaeda operative who's an imminent threat, and then define imminent threat out of existence by saying al-Qaeda is continually hatching plots, so he's always, all day and all night, an imminent threat, i.e. that criterion is meaningless. I think we really have to have an effort in the Congress, in the executive, and in the country to have an argument about what are the guidelines, who is a soldier, and who loses all rights in this kind of shadow war. We've never had it before. We should have a debate, and it's good that we have a president of the left and a Congress, half of which is on the right, to work out criteria, because it can be done, and there has to be a national consensus on it.
CBO looked at this issue in August. It said about 4 million. That number's now nearly doubled to 7 million workers who won't get insurance from their employer.
The bottom line here is that no matter where you live, on January 1st, 2014, an insurance marketplace will be up and running, and consumers will have more access to quality, affordable health insurance coverage.
Charles, I want to pick up on that, because the real upheaval of Obamacare doesn't even begin. For all the political upheaval, the operational upheaval of it, for good or ill, doesn't kick in until next January. The individual mandate, the exchanges, and this precise question, which is going to, because remember, the president said, if you like your policy and you like your doctor, you can keep it. If 7 million workers are being told by their bosses, no, we're going to drop you from the company policy, that's a big deal. How big a political issue do you expect the implementation of Obamacare to be, how it actually works out?
I think it could be utterly disastrous, and if it is, then I think it will have a huge effect on the president, on the presidency, because this is his #1 achievement. This is his legacy. If his presidency ended today, that's how he'd be remembered. The man who began us on the path of nationalizing health care. And as you say, it all hinges on a fantastically complex intrusion into health care, which is 18% of the United States economy. Now, when the president said, all during his arguments about Obamacare, that if you like your doctor, you can keep him. If you like your health care coverage, you can keep it. He was technically right. But the fact is that if you're not being offered it because your company is no longer offering it and it's opting to pay a fine, because as we heard earlier in the program, it would be cheaper, then in fact you don't have the choice of having your own health plan or your doctor. And you said it was an unintended effect, unintended perhaps, but utterly predictable. So it isn't as if any of this is news. And I'm not sure that the president really regrets this. I think his ultimate objective is what he always wanted, nationalized health care like you have in Britain or Canada. But he said you can't get there in one step. And this is a system so complex that ultimately I think the only escape, the only way it can end up is going to be in a nationalized system.
has been a Sunfish production.